1, 2, Caitlin's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your doors. It is almost time. It's almost time. Gather around, gather around. The biggest matchup in quite a while. We have got the point guard matchup we have been fiending over.
That energy right there, that's not hype. That's anticipation for what might be the most important regular season matchup of the WNBA season. Caitlin Clark versus Olivia Miles. Indiana Fever versus Minnesota Lynx. And the stakes go way beyond just one game. Because here's what's actually happening. Clark's been averaging 28.6 points and 8 assists over her last 5 games, shooting 55% from the field and 48% from 3. Those aren't rookie numbers, those are MVP numbers. And she's about to face the one team that can actually match Indiana's offensive firepower while playing significantly better defense.
Caitlin Clark's averaging, 29 points, 8 assists, shooting 55%, 48% from 3. Caitlin Clark is about to send a message to Olivia Miles, Cheryl Reeve, Fee Collier. Yeah, I didn't want to play in your little unrivaled 3-on-3, and I'm about to show you exactly why in 5-on-5. This is the matchup. I cannot wait. I need all of you to join me for this live stream. We are going to have an absolute ball. It's going to be too lit. I cannot wait. Stephanie White cannot get crushed in the coaching department again.
Listen to that breakdown. The backcourt has to win this game for Indiana. And that's not just analysis. That's mathematical reality. Because when you look at the front court matchup, the Fever are outmatched. Aliyah Boston is good, but she's going up against Napheesa Collier and Natasha Howard combined. Collier's averaging 18 and 7 since returning from injury. Howard's putting up 16 and 8. That's 34 points from 2 players who can both defend at an elite level. Boston's talented, but she's one person. And if she gets into foul trouble trying to contain Collier, the Fever's entire defensive scheme collapses. So the pressure falls on Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. They need 50 combined points from the backcourt just to keep this competitive.
Finish, and the girl, she wrecks defenses 94 feet away from the rim. Okay, let's get into the Indiana Fever injury report for tomorrow's game. Okay, everybody appears to be good. Caitlin Clark, probable back. She's good to go. Aliyah Boston, probable leg. She's good to go. Damiris Dantas, she's not a real person. It don't even matter. She don't even matter, okay? The Indiana Fever are taking on the best team in the league in the Minnesota Lynx, and I truly believe that. I think the Minnesota Lynx are better than the Aces.
And that's the real question mark. Not whether Clark can perform. She's proven she shows up in hostile environments. The question is whether Stephanie White can stay out of her own way. Because the Fever's offensive success this season has come when they simplify things. Put the ball in Clark's hands at 94 feet and let her wreck defenses before they can set up. But Cheryl Reeves isn't going to allow that. Minnesota's not going to let Clark and Mitchell play one-on-one basketball and do whatever they want. Reeves is one of the best tactical coaches in the league, and she's going to throw defensive wrinkles at Indiana that White needs to be ready to counter. That's where the coaching disparity becomes a real problem.
Leaned in on Olivia Miles. Studbug, Courtney Williams leaned in on Olivia Miles. Kayla McBride. We're talking about all-stars here. People that can score 20, 30 a night themselves. Napheesa Collier is back. This is going to be a difficult matchup because this is the team that can actually truly match the Indiana Fever on the offensive end in scoring, but they are much better defensively. But the one thing you can't defend is a girl that can pull up from the logo and get hot. I think Caitlin...
Look at how Minnesota's built their roster. Kayla McBride averaging 18 a night. Courtney Williams giving you 15. And that's before you get to the bench. Nia Coffey can contribute. Dorka Uhas just came back a few games ago. 6'5" and can shoot the 3. They're getting the rights to Chloe Bibby. This is depth that Indiana simply cannot match. The Fever have Clark and Mitchell in the backcourt, Boston in the paint, and then it drops off significantly. Monique Billings and Michaela Timpson are solid role players, but they're not game changers. Minnesota can go 8 or 9 deep with players who would start on most other teams. That's a massive advantage in a game that's going to be played at a high pace.
Play Olivia Miles and Courtney Williams for the Indiana Fever to legitimately even have a shot. Even if they outplay their backcourt, that doesn't mean they'll win because they still have Kayla McBride on the wing. She can go for 30. I've watched her in person go for 30 in the playoffs. I've watched her. Okay, Natasha Howard having an all-star year. Napheesa Collier, who was perceived to be the second best player in the world, is back. So, I mean, it's going to be an uphill.
The environment matters here. Target Center is going to be hostile. Sold-out crowd, playoff intensity in January, and all eyes on this point guard matchup. But here's the thing about Caitlin Clark. She's built for exactly these moments. Iowa versus South Carolina, sold-out arenas, national television, everyone watching to see if she'll crack under pressure. She never does. The bigger the stage, the better she performs. And that's what makes this fascinating. Because Olivia Miles is talented, she's been impressive as a rookie, and Minnesota's veterans have fully bought into her running the offense. But she hasn't faced this level of scrutiny. She hasn't had to perform with the entire basketball world watching her every possession.
She's averaging 18 a night. Nafisa Carter's already back, giving you 18 and 7. Natasha Howard's giving you 16 and 8. Courtney Williams giving you 15. But then they have players that contribute off the bench. Nia Coffey, Dorka Juhas came back a few games ago. Mia Caldwell. So they have players off the bench that they can assemble. They also are getting the rights to Chloe Bibby. I don't think she'll be there for this game, but they have a stellar starting unit and a stellar bench unit. I think they got 3-4 players on the bench that would be starters on most other teams in this league, in my opinion. This is going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be a ruckus, hostile environment.
Think about what Minnesota can actually do defensively. They're not going to let Clark pull up from the logo uncontested. They're not going to allow simple pick-and-roll actions with Boston. Reeves is going to switch everything. Show hard on screens. Maybe even trap Clark at half-court to get the ball out of her hands. And that's where Stephanie White has to have answers. When Minnesota traps, who's making the next pass? When they switch, can Indiana exploit mismatches quickly enough? When they pack the paint, are the role players ready to hit open threes? These are the adjustments that separate good coaches from great ones. And based on what we've seen this season, there's a legitimate concern about whether White can make those adjustments in real time.
We have been fiending for it, and I cannot wait. This is going to be a hell of a matchup between these point guards. It's going to be a hell of a matchup between these teams. I think the biggest disparity between these two teams is the coaching. I'm going to be honest. I think Cheryl Reeves is far beyond the coach that Stephanie White is. I just got to keep it real. And I think that may play a big part in this. They're going to throw some wrinkles at Caitlin Clark. They're not going to allow Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell to play one-on-one and do whatever they want to do. You can trust and believe Cheryl Reeve will not allow this backcourt to just do whatever they want to do on their own terms. They're going to have to work really hard to score the basketball in this game. They're going to have to work really hard.
Here's what the numbers tell us about Minnesota's defense. They can actually guard multiple actions simultaneously. Collier can switch onto guards and stay in front of them. Howard can protect the rim and step out to contest threes. Williams is quick enough to chase Clark around screens. McBride has the length to bother passing lanes. Indiana's offense works when they create chaos in transition, and when Clark has space to operate in the half-court. But Minnesota's not going to give up easy transition buckets, and they're not going to give Clark space. So the Fever need a counter. They need Boston to be more aggressive as a scorer, not just a screener. They need Mitchell to create her own shot when Clark's being doubled. They need someone beyond the big two to step up.
Okay, Juhas comes off the bench, 6'5", can shoot the three. Look, this front court is legit. Like I said, the Minnesota Lynx are the best overall team. But the one thing you can't account for is that girl from Iowa that wears number 22, that drains threes from the logo. If she gets hot and she gets going, sound the alarm. Indiana Fever looking to upset the Minnesota Lynx. Join me for this live stream. I'll be live 12:30 Eastern time. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. This Keep the Vision. Make sure you like.
Now let's talk about what happens if this game goes down to the wire. Final 5 minutes. Score within 6 points either way. Who do you trust? Because Minnesota has championship experience. Collier's been to the finals. McBride's been in these moments. Reeves has coached in elimination games and won. Indiana's core is young. Clark's a rookie, regardless of how talented she is. Boston's in her second year. Mitchell's the veteran presence, but she's never won a championship. White's coaching experience in close games against elite teams is limited, and that matters. When possessions are precious and every decision counts, experience becomes invaluable. Minnesota has it. Indiana's still building it.
Share the channel.
But here's the variable that changes everything. The one thing you cannot game plan for, cannot scheme against, cannot defend with conventional tactics. Caitlin Clark pulling up from 30 feet and draining it. Clark seeing a passing angle that doesn't exist and threading it through 3 defenders. Clark taking over a game so completely that nothing else matters. We've seen her do it at Iowa. We've seen flashes of it in the WNBA. And if she gets hot, if she finds that rhythm where every shot looks good and every pass connects, Minnesota's defensive scheme becomes irrelevant. You can't stop greatness with tactics. You can only hope to contain it. And containment might not be enough. So here's what this game actually reveals. It's not just about one matchup in January. It's about whether Indiana can compete with the league's elite teams. Whether Caitlin Clark's individual brilliance can overcome systematic disadvantages in coaching and depth. Whether the Fever's ceiling is championship contender or just playoff participant. Minnesota represents everything Indiana wants to become. Championship pedigree, tactical excellence, veteran leadership, defensive identity, and roster depth. The Lynx didn't rebuild, they reloaded. They added Miles as a distributor, brought back Collier healthy, and maintained their core. They're the model franchise. Indiana's still figuring it out. They have the generational talent in Clark. They have a rising star in Boston. They have the pieces. But pieces don't win championships. Systems do. And right now, Minnesota has a better system. Watch how Cheryl Reeves uses her timeouts. She'll call them early to stop runs before they start. She'll make adjustments at the first sign of trouble. She won't wait until a 6-point deficit becomes 12. That's championship coaching. Compare that to how Stephanie White has managed close games this season. She's sometimes slow to adjust. She'll stick with lineups that aren't working. She'll let runs extend before calling timeout. Those are the details that lose games against elite competition. The backcourt battle is fascinating because it's not just about talent. Olivia Miles has the full support of Minnesota's system. When she drives, she knows Collier and Howard are spacing the floor. When she passes, she trusts her teammates to make the next play. When she's in trouble, Courtney Williams is there to bail her out. Caitlin Clark has to create more with less. When she drives, the spacing isn't always optimal. When she passes, the decision-making of her teammates isn't always sound. When she's in trouble, there's not always a secondary ball handler to relieve pressure. She has to be perfect more often. And that's exhausting over the course of a full game. Clark's usage rate is already astronomical. She's handling the ball on almost every possession, making every read, carrying the offensive load. Against a team like Minnesota that can throw fresh defenders at her in waves, that workload becomes unsustainable. Unless she's just that good. Unless the gap between her talent and everyone else's is so massive that it doesn't matter.
Unless we're watching someone who transcends normal basketball logic. And that's possible. We've seen transcendent talents before. Players who make the impossible routine. The other factor nobody's talking about is how this game affects playoff seeding. Minnesota's fighting for home court advantage. Indiana's trying to secure a favorable first-round matchup. Every game matters in a compressed WNBA season. This isn't just about bragging rights or individual matchups.
This impacts championship odds. If Indiana wins, it announces they're legitimate contenders. It proves Clark can perform against elite defenses. It validates their system and gives them confidence heading into tougher stretches. If they lose, especially if they lose badly, it confirms the skeptics. It shows they're not ready for championship-level competition yet. For Minnesota, a win maintains their position as the league's best team. A loss raises questions about whether they can handle the pressure that comes with being the favorite. Whether their system works against dynamic offensive talents like Clark. Whether they're as dominant as their record suggests. So when that ball tips off, when Clark and Miles match up at center court, when the crowd noise reaches its peak, remember what's actually at stake. This is about identity, about validation, about proving who belongs in championship conversations and who's still building toward that level. The beauty of sports is that all the analysis, all the predictions, all the systematic breakdowns become irrelevant once the game starts. Clark might go off for 40. Miles might outplay her. Boston might dominate Collier. White might outcoach Reeves. Anything can happen. But the smart money is on Minnesota. Better coaching, better depth, better defense, championship experience. They're built to win games like this. Indiana's built around one transcendent talent and hoping that's enough. Is it? We're about to find out. And that's why this game matters. That's why the anticipation is real. That's why everyone's watching. Because when elite talent meets elite systems, when individual brilliance faces collective excellence, we get to see what really wins in basketball. So who you got? The rookie sensation trying to will her team to victory against a superior opponent? Or the championship caliber squad that does everything right and doesn't rely on individual heroics? Drop your prediction in the comments, hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed because we're going to break down everything that happens in this game. This is the matchup we've been waiting for. Let's see if it lives up to the hype.